with our fake lipstick. Okay.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Smooches and Stabs with the illustrious, the beautiful Queen of Kisses, Pepper Basham, and me, the Mistress of Murder and Mayhem, Jaime
Dun,
Jo Wright.
dun, dun. Oh, sorry, you might need to say your name again. I just overlooked it. Yeah, right. Jaime Jo Wright.
Oh, yeah. You know, I have found from a few of our listeners that they are getting quite the kick out of our pairing.
Isn't that funny?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you're amazing, and I love just talking to you outside of these things because, interestingly enough, we get along really well. We do write very differently.
Very, very differently, remarkably different, to the point where, like, Pepper's afraid, not wrongly, to read my novels, and I'm a little nauseated sometimes to read her novels, and yet we love each other deeply.
That's right. It's an amazing the unity there.
We are the epitome of how the world should operate.
You want to kill people? I want to love people. What is that?
We balance each other out so nobody dies, and nobody dies of being nauseated. So it's
There we go.
Oh, funny. So today we have chosen a rather popular heroine from history.
Yep.
This Amelia Earhart.
Yes.
Because I find her story intriguing. And I think
theories abound. Theories
abound all over. So it's not like we're going to be the first people to discuss conspiracy theories. However, I really am interested to see how the romantic element could weave their way in.
Okay, this is a tough one though.
This is all on you today, Pepper, because I can come up with a gajillion theories on Amelia Earhart.
I do have mystery theories in mind too.
Well, we can talk about those. But let's give a little background on who Amelia Earhart is, just in case somebody, for some reason, doesn't know who she is. She was, as it says on biography.com, which I am looking at right now because I can't remember facts and pictures. She mysteriously disappeared in 1937 while she was trying to circumnavigate the globe from the equator. And she was the 16th woman to be issued a pilot's license.
Very cool.
And she was fondly known as Lady Lindy. Can you figure out why she was called Lady Lindy?
Lindbergh, was it the
Charles
female
Lindbergh
version of Charles Lindbergh? Cool. I did not know that.
And did you know that the two most famous aviators in American history, Charles Lindbergh and Amelia Earhart, both had horrific mysteries surrounding their lives?
They did. Very strange.
Very strange. The Lindbergh baby went missing and Amelia Earhart went missing. Conspiracy theory number one, but we won't jump into that quite yet.
I'm curious because I hadn't made that connection. I like it.
Yeah, I've always thought there's,
it's dark, absorbing way.
I have a lot of absorbing ways about this story.
No surprise.
She was shocked. Right. I know. Shocking. She was born in 1897, though, which is really funny to me for some reason, because I don't picture Amelia Earhart being born in the Edwardian age.
Because she was so forward thinking. A short haircut, wearing slacks, flying planes.
Mm-hmm. And did you know as well that when she disappeared, FDR, who was the president at the time, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Democratic president, issued a $4 million search to recover her and her co-pilot.
Wasn't it like $200,000 a day?
Something crazy like that.
Something really big, because and why was that? Rescue mission of this female aviator, even though she was like the most popular female aviator at the time.
Therein lies some of my conspiracy, because to me, anything that's funded by government tends to have some sort of political undertones. And so it makes me wonder what I hate to be this cynical, but what was the political benefit to FDR to fund a $4 million search and rescue party? Was it really just because he was that fond and the American people were that fond of her that he had to do something? Or was there something more behind it?
Yeah, I think there's something behind it, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay. All right. So a little bit more about her. She, in 1920, took a plane ride It was only 10 minutes, but after that plane ride, she knew she had to learn how to fly. She was a photographer. She worked as a truck driver. She earned enough money to take flying lessons, and she cropped her hair short, like other women aviators. And she even slept in her new leather jacket for 3 nights, so it would have a more worn look, according to biography.com.
Well, there you go.
Right.
And in there, for those of you who've never seen a picture of her.
Yes. So we are showing a picture of, she's Amelia. Just so precious looking.
She does look really cute.
She has this baby girl face to her. And then that picture, that's the side profile. She kind of looks suave and decadent, but decadent, is that a word? I mean, it's a word, but is that a word, but I don't know if that's not debonair. Debonair. Right. No, I don't want to eat her.
No. Well, here's ones where she's dressed up a little bit.
Oh, very elegant. She had great cheekbones.
She did.
Can we talk about her cheekbones?
And her lips are pretty great too.
They are.
But this is for those of you who can see the YouTube clips.
Right. If you want to look at the pictures, you can go to our YouTube channel, Smooches and Snaps, and you can actually watch a video of us doing our podcast. Yeah. So in 1921, so really, if you think about it, she took her first flight in 1920 as a passenger. She spent an entire year, and in 1921, she bought her first plane. So only a year later.
Wow. At that time period too.
Right.
What did she have to do to get to that point to buy it?
And how does a woman even buy a new plane? Because in the 1920s, like, I'm not even sure you could still own property as a female.
I know. We had earned the right to vote. Did that help any with owning property?
But didn't we earn the right to vote in like 1920?
Yeah, I know. So we'd had a whole decade maybe to.
Well, this is the 1921 though. She bought her first plane. So like a year after women won the right to vote, she gets to buy her plane. Dude,
there you go.
She monopolized on it, right? Awesome. So she lived a lot off of family inheritance from an estate that was part of their family.
Right. And her childhood wasn't super happy as far as
it really wasn't.
Her parents separated early.
Right. And she lived a lot of her early childhood with her grandparents. So it was her grandmother's inheritance to Amy, who was Amelia's mother, that they did a lot of their living off of. But by 1924, they ran out of money. And so Amelia sold her plane. And then she and her mom set out on a trip from California to Boston. And then she went to Columbia University, was forced to abandon those studies because of finances. And then she gradually got back into aviation in 1927.
Interesting things about her past. From a young age, she played basketball, took an auto repair course, and briefly attended college. During World War I, she served as a Red Cross nurse's aide in Toronto, Canada. So there were these, in the very beginning, playing basketball and taking an auto repair course would certainly not place you within the genteel ladies society. So she was already kind of bucking some gender expectations early on in her life.
She really was. But interesting, I love the fact that she really gained acceptance. Like the public loved her. So it tells me that her personality was really
charismatic
and enveloping, just warm and enveloping. In fact, here on, again, biography.com, so people don't think I'm this smart by myself, they talk about her being gracious and somewhat shy, but remarkably talented and brave. So if I was writing a heroine in a book, there's nothing to me like it's a great heroine trope where you have somebody who's very shy and timid, but extremely courageous.
Yes, I love that. I think lots of times we place that within heroes.
Yes.
But we don't place it as many times as within heroines because we're trying to, appeal to strong, independent women.
I think we are. Yeah.
And have that shy, quiet, but very confident and courageous personality is a powerful thing to write.
I think in a way we've shortchanged women by expecting strong and powerful to also be extroverted and outgoing and commanding
and snappy
and sassy and full of wit and humor. And
wit's always good.
Wit's always good.
Quiet or no.
Well, true, but not everybody has it.
No.
So in 1932, she became the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic. in a nearly 15-hour voyage. I can't stay awake for 15 hours straight.
She wasn't by her. Oh, she was by herself. Solo
She was by
flight.
herself.
She wasn't with her other guy who usually, Noonan, who was with her on the last flight.
The last one. Right. And she was working on the secret plans for the flight across the ocean before she got married to her then husband, Putnam.
Who was also her, like, did all the business stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I'm interested, though, to ask you, Pepper, who just returned from Ireland. She landed in Culmore, Northern Ireland. Did you make it there?
Where? Connemara?
Culmore. Well, I don't know. It's spelled Culmore.
Oh, no, I didn't make it there.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if it's Northern Ireland or Southern Ireland. I'm gonna have to look that up.
It says Northern Ireland. She took off from Newfoundland. And then she landed in Northern Ireland.
Now, we passed near Newfoundland because you pass it when you're flying from the States over to the UK. You pass it on your left if you're flying there. Not that you can see it or anything, but the map on the plane says so. Anyway, we landed in Southern Ireland, so we didn't get a chance to go up to Northern Ireland.
Okay. So the only other thing I'll say about who Amelia Earhart was that she did eventually divorce Putnam. But do you know what she said to him on the day of their wedding? This is a quote. "I want you to understand, I shall not hold you to any medieval code of faithfulness to me, nor shall I consider myself bound to you similarly." So really what she was espousing was an open marriage. Like, why did they even bother getting married is my question.
Financially, what do you bet?
Yeah.
And he was her business person. He was her business partner. So it sounds like, I don't know how much of a romantic love match, how strong that was. Of course, again, she was forward thinking. She had a broken marriage in her family that may have impacted, I don't know if it may have.
Right. Well, and even the Putnam, who she married, was the result of a supposed affair of Putnam's wife. And so he got a divorce, and then he went after Amelia. And they eventually married in 1931.
No, so they were divorced whenever she did her last flight?
That's what I'm trying to find out. Because
that's an interesting thing. And if he divorced her is another interesting thing. Okay, I'm so curious.
Did they get divorced? Did
they get divorced?
I was thinking
they were divorced.
I was thinking they did, but you know what? It doesn't look like they did. He was the divorcee from his first marriage. But no, he helped get additional funding for the flight that was her last flight. So they were still married at the time of the flight.
So their marriage was an interesting thing.
Very. And then Noonan, the guy Noonan, was her co-pilot. Who was going to take the flight with her. And so basically how this flight went, we'll jump forward so we can get going on our conspiracy theories. They took off June 1st from Miami. It was quite a heralded takeoff. They flew towards Central and South America, turning east for Africa. They crossed the Indian Ocean, and they did touch down in Lae, New Guinea on June 29th.
Their last landing, I think.
Their last landing. And so we know for sure that for the first 29 days, they had a successful flight, and they had 7,000 miles after they left New Guinea that would take place over the Pacific. She had dysentery while she was in New Guinea.
Oh.
And so while she was recuperating, they made adjustments to the plane that were necessary. They put extra fuel on board. They packed away parachutes, because it says here, there would be no need for them while flying along the vast and desolate Pacific Ocean. Huh?
Right. I saw that too. Very strange.
Yeah, very strange. So on July 2nd, they left Lae, New Guinea at 12:30 a.m., heading east for Howland Island. And they had radio equipment, but they ran into difficulty almost from the start. There was a radio antenna that was damaged, et cetera, et cetera. And on the morning of July 2nd at 7:20, Earhart reported her position, placing the plane on course at 20 miles southwest of the New Kumanu Islands. And at 7:42, so about 20 minutes later, they picked up this message from Earhart. We must be on you, but we cannot see you. Fuel is running low. Been unable to reach you by radio. We are flying at 1,000 feet.
Was the fuel running low? They had the extra fuel.
I don't know.
Strange.
But after that, they lost contact. And despite 66 aircraft, 9 ships, and an estimated $4 million rescue, the fate and flight of Earhart and Noonan remains a mystery until today.
Even till today. I mean, been searches going on for decades to find her plane, to find anything. There have been these little finds that they'll think it was the plane and it really wasn't, or the skeleton, they think it was her skeleton, but it's really not.
Right.
So, I mean, it truly does seem to be a long-term mystery.
It does. And, there's lots. I've even watched some documentaries and such on, like the History Channel is a great one for conspiracy theory documentaries, which is why I love the History Channel. The History Channel is anything but factual history, people. Come on, let's be serious. But
right.
They had one on Amelia Earhart, and they made a very compelling argument, which began my own brain starting on theories of what might have happened. But there are some pictures from some islands in the Pacific where it looks a lot like the profile of Earhart in these pictures, and potentially of Noonan. So there's question as to whether they actually crashed or if they faked some sort of plane crash over the Pacific in order to disappear from the limelight. Like she was tired of societal pressure. She was tired of everything. And who knows what other motivation she may have had, but there's questions as to whether she lived
marriage.
Right. So well, true.
There could be other motivation.
Oh, there comes the romance author. Here we go. Here we go. But yeah, there's speculation that she actually lived a long life in the islands.
Right. I read some of that too. And I was also curious about the theory about her going undercover against, the Japanese to find information for the government. And that's why she faked the disappearance, because, it makes perfect sense what we see about her character, that she's adventurous, that she's willing to try things other people wouldn't try. And it seems like she lives from one high to the next high to get that danger feel.
Yes.
And so what else could be more daring or, quote, exciting than pretending to die to do something else is daring. It's kind of like a fun little trick on the rest of the people back home. And if we say another thing that was interesting, she was declared dead 18 months after she disappeared.
Right.
And her husband remarried very quickly after this. She was declared dead.
Correct.
So there are some things that are kind of like, okay, did he know what was going on? Did he not know what was going on? Or did she already see the writing on the wall to be like, he's already moving on. We have this open marriage and I found somebody else, probably not in the city of Atlantis, because I feel like that's more close to the Bermuda Triangle, which would be on the other side of the ocean. But have I found someone else who might be involved in espionage and I'm going to join them?
Right. Yeah. I think personally, making the assumption that Amelia did not die.
Yes.
I think personally, she was definitely involved in the underground movements during World War II. So stick with me for this theory now. Okay. There is a woman who was Italian. Her mother was Italian. And she and her mother immigrated to, I believe it was Germany or Austria, one of those two countries. Anyway, as she grew up, she became extremely popular. She was like life of the party. And she joined the underground anti-Nazi. I can't remember the name of the group because it was a very obscure one. It was when I was listening to this documentary about her, I'd never heard of it. But anyway, she died really mysteriously. They're so confused how she died because she got on a train one night in the middle of the night. It was like 3 a.m. in the morning. She got on at stop A. And then a half an hour later, with no stops in between, a very empty train, they stopped at the next train station and they found her murdered in her car box. And this box car that she was in, it was in a very exclusive box. Nobody could just walk in. So the way it was designed and the way it was set up, once she was in, there was no access unless they got through a conductor or some other person. And everyone said they never saw anybody go in her car. And yet here she is, murdered in her car. So one of the theories is that somebody actually dropped from the sky via parachute to take her out because she was so deadly to the Nazi regime, because she was extremely smart. She was playing all the sides. She wasn't really loyal to anybody. So she was the Nazis, the Italians, this, that, and the other. So she was really mixing up the pot. And she was dangerous. And so one of the theories is that somebody dropped from the air, came through the skylight in the car, murdered her, and then crawled out the top and jumped off the train. So my theory becomes when Amelia, I mean, who else is more qualified to fly a plane, to strategically engineer time, figure out laws of physics and everything, to drop a parachuter onto a train to murder a woman who is playing all the sides of the war and could, really twist the war into a million pieces if she tried.
Yeah.
I think Earhart was flying that plane. And maybe Noonan was the parachuter and the murderer.
How old was Noonan at that time? I don't think Amelia could have done the parachuter
because she would have been too old. She would have been too old. But we're going to go with it because we always have the time travel thing too. So maybe she time traveled.
No. I mean, no, I like the idea of her being the pilot though, because I'm with you on the idea of her not, supposing she didn't die, that all of the strategies, because it was very strange, like what you were saying earlier, all the things they should have had on their plane, especially for Noonan to navigate, because there were several navigational tools he should have had on that plane that they didn't put on the plane when they left New Guinea, or even when they left Florida. Or California. They left California. And so Oakland, California, isn't that where they
it was Florida. It was Florida.
Oh, it was Florida.
You had it right.
Okay. So when they left Florida, there were several different things that they should have had navigationally and to help point the ship to find them should they need assistance.
Right.
There were several things that should have been on the plane that were later found in the hangar. So they were put on, two of the things were put on the plane and then found in the hangar later. So somebody took them off. So there were certain things where it was stated that Amelia said, oh, we don't need that. We don't need that. But there were other things that she didn't comment on that were still not found on the plane. So there's that. You think, well, why wouldn't you use that if you were going to need to be found?
Right.
Oh, but if I don't want to be found.
Right.
Right. So I think that something happened that I do think she became some kind of spy. One high to the next high. I think if we're going to add the romantic part,
oh boy, here we go.
That she had a person that she'd been in contact with who was a lover, and that he was a spy, and with perhaps even with the underground, whole take down the Nazis thing, or with just our government, which would be a part of that. We didn't get involved early, but going in, learning information, she meets this guy, and he's the one who convinces her to design this huge plot of disappearing so that he can use her skill set of flying, use her skill set of daring, and if she's in a situation in countries where people don't know her, she can be very charming and know a lot of different things. So we know that she's worked as a nurse.
Right.
nurse's aide. We know that she's athletic.
Right.
We know that she's inventive and creative. We know that she can be charming. So she's all these perfect things for a spy. And since I saw those pictures too, where they think it looks like Amelia Earhart after she disappeared. Who got her there? Who was she meeting there?
Right.
Why was she meeting them there? And so she could have very well been with her romantic partner.
She could have. And
both of them be spies to help take down who knows what in Germany.
What if, piggybacking on that, what if the $4 million search and rescue from FDR was not really a search and rescue? What if it was a cover-up? So you could spin it two ways, really. You could say the Americans wanted to get her into the espionage field because she would be very valuable. And so they were very much a part of her, quote, disappearance, unquote. And the $4 million search and rescue and all the ships, et cetera, were to make it appear as though we were trying to find her and we failed, which solidified the fact that her plane had to have crashed. Therefore, she had to have died.
And we can't trust the government.
And 18 months later, the government says she's dead. So therefore, she must be dead because they're always right.
Exactly.
Or you could spin it a different way. What if she disappeared on purpose to join up with an anti-American force?
Ooh, yes, I thought about that too.
And the $4 million search and rescue was not really a rescue. It was a $4 million search and assassination.
Ooh.
But then I'm cautious going with that theory because it really rips on her American patriotism. And she's sort of a beloved American historical figure. So
she does seem to be that.
I really kind of hate doing that, but it's really
there.
Fun.
It's there.
It's there.
Exactly.
And who is Noonan?
Really? Who is Noonan? I don't know. Do you know? What's his history like? You have to look it up.
Is he German?
No.
Noonan.
Let's see.
Noonan and Earhart. Let me see if I can find out. Oh, well, if you type it into Google, it says Noonan and Earhart lovers. There you go. Right there.
Oh,
wow. He was good looking.
Oh, so what do we know about him?
Well, let me pull it up here. He was her navigator.
Yes, we know that.
He was a little skinny though. Well, whatever. He was married twice. He was 6 feet tall. Little is actually known about him. Ooh.
Oh, that's even better. They met through aviation community.
He had a scar at the base of his thumb and a protrusion on a forehead over his right eye. We know these details because they were publicly available in records, and yet together it's a sketchy portrait.
From being a previous spy.
Right.
That's gotta be. The spies always have scars. He's gotta be a spy.
So he was born in Chicago, or according to some reports, in Ireland, because those are next door to each other.
Right. So why wouldn't we know for sure where he's born? Oh,
that's
I'm getting
a good question.
vibes. Spy vibes coming.
More spy vibes. Over 20 years, he rose to the ranks. I'm on history.com, by the way. Give credit where credit's due. Over 20 years, he rose through the ranks to become a captain. And he changed gears to take up flying, but he never lost his love for the sea. Yeah, there is really not a lot known on him.
Love for the sea. He's from Atlantis.
I knew it. All hell bash him. I knew we'd get there. Here it is.
We all know Atlantis. His love for the sea. We can't find his history. There's no trail of history. And so he's taking Earhart back to his homeland.
He got married 2 months before he left with Earhart.
Well, that's all cover up. Everything's a cover up. Come on. The best spies
Martinelli.
The spies are going to cover stuff up to make you think one thing. It's the art of diversion. Come on.
And it's true because she said her last quote for the Oakland Tribune was, Fred had several good business offers and we plan to make our home in Southern California, ... It seems I've hardly seen him since we married.
Okay, so he has a love for the sea. Love for the sea. He might have been born in Ireland. He might have been born in Chicago.
We don't know.
We don't really. He's definitely not a leprechaun. He's too tall.
He's scarred.
So he's scarred, which gives me either spy vibes or trying to get from Atlantis to the up above ground world. Could have caused some scarring.
Well, and really, when you think about it, he's scarred externally and internally, because he's obviously scarred enough in love, if I can contribute to the love theory, to marry a woman and lead her on so that he can run off with Earhart and take her back to Atlantis. Maybe.
Okay, yes.
They were searching for the lost gold. This has nothing to, because the Nazis were going to go after Atlantis's lost gold.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so maybe he wasn't in love with Earhart. Maybe he knew her navigational abilities, right? Yes. Her navigational abilities and her courage and her quick wit would help him
find his home.
Yes.
Atlantis.
And so then
in the process, the early Hitlerites were following her, and the U.S. government thought she was in cahoots with the Hitlerites because
we're just
going to call them the Hitlerites because why not? And it just turned into one worldwide conspiracy, and they disappeared with Atlantis.
Because he knew he had to protect his home, and they found it on their flight. They found all of the connections on their flight, and the only way to protect the entrance into Atlantis was to disappear.
And why would they need parachutes? Because once they dive into the ocean, they're just going to go down to Atlantis.
Exactly.
So leaving the parachutes behind makes sense.
There's no source of the plane.
No.
There's no source of skeletons, really.
Right. There's no ruins.
The last thing that they have is that we're low on fuel, and then they're gone. And they're not where they're supposed to be. Because the ship is supposed to be underneath, near enough to them to where they could find them if they needed them. That's why the ship was out there to begin with.
They were completely off course.
They're completely off course. So maybe all these searches have been in the wrong place.
See, this is why you and I need to have these conversations about historical events, because eventually we find the truth.
That's right. We finally get to the truth.
And the story of Amelia Earhart really has nothing to do with her. It has to do with Fred Noonan.
And Atlantis.
Mystery solved.
Mystery solved. Yes.
Thank you for joining Smooches and Stabs, where we solve history's major mysteries.
We do have your tip for today, and it's about flying.
Okay.
So let's see what we got. Little known facts about flying. Here's one.
All right.
The first inventors who were inventing flight tried many different options for steering balloons, because balloons was the first way they were able to get person in the air.
Okay.
They even tried to harness birds to help steer balloons. So here's another one. This is very sad. The first craft big enough to hold a person was built in 1852 and was powered by the wind. It was called a heavier than air machine, which, even though it was actually the world's first airplane, the first person to fly in a heavier than air machine was the son of one of the inventor's servants, an unnamed 10-year-old boy.
Oh my gosh.
So if it was going to go down, it would be some unnamed servant's boy of 10 years old. Not okay. But
you know, the American aristocracy had such little respect for those on the lower caste system.
Yeah. And so he clearly survived because he didn't die. So that was good. Him. But just pick a kid, say, oh, you're the kid, and we're going to send you off on the flight. I'm like,
kid, you're going to fly today. You might die too, but we're going to try the flying.
Then one of those kids that was like, cool, let's do it.
Maybe he was, or maybe they just had to tie him in. That's a whole other story for another episode.
Pan. He's Peter Pan.
Oh.
I can fly, I can fly, I can fly.
If you wish upon a star.
Yes.
Makes no difference where you are. Okay, I'll stop.
Go for it, girly. I love it.
Let's not.
I'll sprinkle stuff. Sprinkle.
There's glitter everywhere on the screen. Okay, wow. We have run the gamut. We have talked about Amelia Earhart. We've talked about women's rights. We've talked about Nazis. We've talked about Atlantis.
The government.
Ireland. I think we're on to something.
Hot air balloons. I mean, we've got this covered.
10-year-old boys.
I'm wondering if we need to move on to Atlantis.
I think we're going to need to cover Atlantis at some point. I do.
Too. I know that we have some kind of story about missing gold, but I don't think it's related to Atlantis, but maybe it is related to Atlantis. We really don't know.
We should talk about that on a next episode about the missing gold, and maybe it'll tie into Atlantis, or maybe it'll tie into the Confederacy.
Or maybe it will tie into time travel. My personal favorite.
It could tie into Star Trek.
Oh, yes.
You never know where we're going to go. Oh, that's our new tagline. Smooches and stabs. You never know where we're going to go.
That sounds perfect. I think we should add that.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. I hope you all enjoyed our little musing on what happened to Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan. If you have a theory that you most agree with, please leave it in our comments at Smooches and Stabs on Facebook or at our YouTube channel. You can email us at smoochesandstabs@gmail.com. And if you have a theory that is completely juxtaposed to ours, we also want to hear that. But keep in mind, we've already solved it.
That's right.
So, I mean, you can have your theories.
We are 10% sure of our theories.
Well, I'd say 5, but I'll go with 10.
5 or 10, somewhere between 5 and 10.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us here at Smooches and Stabs. Join us next time for another fun conspiracy.
See you guys.